Exodus 18. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land, and the name of the other was Eleazar, for the God of my father, said he, was mine help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses in the wilderness, where he encamped at the mount of God. And he said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife and her 2 sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed him, and they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who hath delivered you out of the hands of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who hath delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God, and Aaron came and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from the morning unto the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning until even? And Moses said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, The thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt shew them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. If thou shalt do this thing, and God commanded thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land. We see here that we start to understand something. It might be a little awkward to understand, but there was no communications in those days to the same extent we have today. There was no email, there was no letters, there was no post office, there was no phones. And so finally, after all of these things happen, Moses' father-in-law Jethro hears that the people of Israel and Moses are in the area, and he takes Zipporah, his daughter, who is Moses' wife, and Moses' 2 sons back to him and comes to visit. And Moses is very pleased to see his father-in-law. And it said he bowed before him and did obeisance. Obeisance, as we talked about earlier, is a form of submission. It's prostrating yourself down in front of the person as a sign of ultimate respect and a willingness to do this. And the thing is that Jethro was high priest of Midian. He was a presiding officer of the gospel. Moses recognized that. Moses was a prophet of God, but he also recognized that there are presiding officers locally, and you show respect. It didn't mean that Jethro could tell Moses things that God would tell Moses, but it didn't mean that Jethro wasn't smart either, because we find out that very shortly after they have this, Moses is judging the people. And Jethro sees what's happening and can't believe it. Can't believe that Moses doesn't see the problem here. The problem is that every time the people have got something that needs done, they want to go to the great high mucky muck leader. Now, in the Near East and the Middle East, this is the tradition. This was what happened in Pharaoh's court. People had problems, they would go and they would talk to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh, as the great judge, the great god Ra, whatever, he would make the decision and he would tell them what it was. This is what the God says, and this is what you're supposed to do. And they do this day. The sheikhs and all the rest, that's what they do this day. Now that they're starting to have courts, but in some places it's still, everything is up to the leader, the ruler. And what Jethro said was, all of these people have to wait one at a time until you get around to doing it. This is not good. You imagine telling a prophet of God that something he's doing really isn't smart, really isn't good? Well, Jethro's father-in-law could see that there was a problem. You'll wear out. These people have to stand around all day. I mean, the ones that you see late in the day had to be there from the beginning in the morning, and they're all standing around waiting for their turn. It'd be a whole lot better if you pointed people to judge a group of 10 families, groups of 50 families, groups of 100 families, groups of 1,000 families, or individuals, or whatever. And anybody that's got a problem, they know who the closest person to them who can make the decision. And the reason for this is partly, and major-wise, teaching these people to think for themselves about the gospel and the covenants that they're supposed to make. Instead of them pretending, instead of the people of Israel pretending that they can do as they wish, be as dumb as they wish, be as horrible as they wish, not get along, not be loving and kind and Christ-like and all the rest of this stuff, and they can just fight, hassle, and be a problem to one another, and then they can go to the great high guy and say, well, he did this, and he did this, and he said this, and he said that, and God is supposed to give inspiration to the leader. These people are supposed to know how to behave to avoid the problems. And in order to do that, they needed more time learning what the gospel and the covenants were than they were going to get just coming up to Moses. Moses saw the potential, but he couldn't handle the volume, the number of people. And so he appoints people to look after every group of 10, 50, 100, and 1,000. And he's going to deal with the really tough cases. But this is all part of the process of getting the people to understand that they have to live by a standard of obedience instead of being dumb about things and expecting somebody else to sort out their problems that they created because they wouldn't live the way they were supposed to. This was going to be a long process. And Jethro gave Moses some fabulously wonderful advice, and Moses recognized it and took it. And in our lives, if we recognize when some people give us really brilliant advice and we take it, we're not worried about pride or who thought about it, that helps us and it helps everybody else too.